We can sit back and argue sometimes. It's boring to live for God sometimes, if we're not looking for the intentional, what are we doing with God? I was just like, I don't know what it is, but I need you. And it was a deep sense of just need. And I was dating another girl at the time, and I was confused. I'm like, What is happening?
We were made for companionship. Yeah. We were made to have relationship with people, and it doesn't have to be as something as intimate as marriage, you know?
That I've always said growing up is, I don't want to become who my dad was when I was a kid, but I spent so much time saying I don't want to do that, that's exactly who I was becoming.
I'm very blessed today to have a brother in arms joining me. He has been here at the Pentecostals of Phoenix, him, his wife, and his 2 sons for about 3 years now, showing up for the kingdom in tremendous ways, doing a lot of great things with the youth, with the homeless, with our outreach program, and getting involved in a strong way. Here to introduce is Brother Zack Jenkins.
Good afternoon. Thank you, Brother Chas.
Absolutely. Welcome, man.
I appreciate the invite, man.
Absolutely, man. It's a pleasure, man. We've had a chance to spend a little bit of time together since you've been here, and you've had a chance to even run a small group since you've been here, just talking about testimonies and geared towards testimonies. One of the things that stood out to me with the testimony small group that I helped you with was that somebody came up and said, as other people were sharing their testimonies, that they didn't realize that this was pop. And I think that it was so awesome that came to light, because one, we should know who we labor with, first and foremost, but to understand that Pastor and Pop have done an amazing job of creating a very transparent culture here at Pop, where people can truly come into this house, come as is, and then when they submit themselves to the ministry, when they submit themselves to God first and foremost, obviously, before the ministry, but submit themselves to the house, because Pastor is, he's led by God. So when you're submitting it, you're submitting under the umbrella of all of that. You're submitting to good authority. You're submitting to a good house, and you get to see, like, people are not perfect.
That's right.
People are not perfect, but in our transparency, and I think that's really what the world needs right now, is transparency to show people, especially in a Pentecostal realm, like people are not perfect. We are just as dirty and just as human as anybody else, and we all got a past.
Right.
And the best thing about it, especially with what we've been doing here on the podcast, is that we've been talking about, listen, this is where I was, this is who I used to be, and look at what God has done in my life, for me, for the people around me, for my family, for my kids, and we've had a lot of awesome testimonies coming out, and I'm excited to talk about yours too.
Absolutely, man.
So that being said, let's go back, and I want to give you kind of some room to set the stage of your testimony, because again, it's an awesome one. Take us back to kind of day one, because I know that that family life growing up, there's a lot that you've had to overcome yourself, which has helped you be the man who you are today.
Right. Yes, sir. And what I would say is, so we actually talked about this, how long we've been at POP the other week. So we've been in Phoenix 3 years, POP 2 years.
Okay.
But my goodness, it feels like a lifetime.
I know, right?
It feels like
that's what happens when you plug into a good house.
Yeah, right. Yeah. And I want to put a pin in the submitting under the pastor. That's something I struggled with heavily. But we can go back to that.
Yeah.
So I come from a background of and my mother and father, I was born in Key West, and my mother and father split when I believe I was about 2 years old. Okay. To be frank, the first 6 years of my life, I don't really remember anything. I'm working through that. I know there's reasons that I've put all that stuff aside, but my father, I remember vehemently growing up, and I hope he doesn't lose it if he listens to this, but we would sit on the couch on Saturday nights. As I got older, he got more involved in my life, closer to when I was about 11.
Yeah.
And we'd sit and watch cops on Saturday nights. It's something I do with my kids today that I cherish.
Yeah.
But I remember the one night we were there and they were monitoring Key West.
Yeah.
And he said, "Oh, I know that crack house. I know that crack house." And I'm like, "Dad, you know, like I knew that, you know, that was his background. And obviously he was a different person as I got older.
Yeah.
But the reason him and my mom split was domestic violence. And so growing up, I remember my brother Nate. So I've got two brothers and a sister. Two of them are from my dad's side. They both ran away when they were like 12 and 13 years old. My other brother, I hadn't even, he was gone for like 14 years and he was just in the streets doing his thing. And so my brother Nate is the one that I grew up with, and he would help take care of me growing up because my mom was single for a long time.
Yeah.
And, you know, I remember her, you know, working multiple jobs, and I would come home, you know, from school or whatever, and I'd hide under the couch because I'm home alone and I don't really have anybody there to show me like, hey, this is what it means to be at home alone or to handle yourself, if you will. Yeah. And so where I was going with that was as I was growing up, I heard the stories of my dad. Yeah. And to be real, I thought it was kind of cool, you know, because then as I got to see my dad, I'm like, man, there was something that was drawing me to that. And I don't know if it's genetics. I don't know if it's the way of the world. I got no clue. But we didn't really, growing up, we never really went to church. We would go like once a year, maybe twice a year. Yeah. But that was it. You know, I had a little pocket Bible. But it wasn't in the home. You know, we didn't really talk about God. And my mom made sure to set the foundation of here's the Bible, and we knew God, but who was God, you know? Yeah. And so I carried that even through life, and at a very young age, I just got wrapped up with the wrong crowd, man. And I thought it was cool, and it sounded cool. It looked cool, and people were flashing money, right, driving nice cars, and that's what I so desired. Yeah. And so, you know, it's been a long journey to find Christ, and a lot of times I'm like, man, I can't even believe God still accepts me, you know. Yeah. You know, a lot of people I think can attest to that. Yeah. Because we can sit back and argue sometimes. It's boring to live for God sometimes, you know, if we're not looking for the intentional, what are we doing with God?
Yeah. God is very purpose driven.
Right.
God has been purpose driven since the beginning.
Yes.
He made the garden to put Adam in the garden, for Adam to till the garden, to then walk with Adam to worship. He's very purposeful. And I don't want to speed past that, because that's such a common conception, especially in America, you know, where people are, oh, Christianity is boring, and I don't get to do this, and I don't get to do that. And it's not that Christianity is boring, but are you aligning yourself with Christ, because he is going to get you at the most depth of you in your soul and drive you into the purpose that he has for you, if you choose to submit. And I'm sure at adolescence you weren't really wanting to submit like the most of us know.
No, and you know, it was the school I went to in middle school is really when things began to move at a very rapid pace, and I, you know, hormones are kicking in, puberty, you got all this stuff happening, and you know, it was just the people I chose to hang around, you know, and then there was a lot of gang activity at the middle school, and so again, I'm attracted, I'm drawn to it, you know, and then girls and who's, you know, I just to be very real, it was like a whoever's body count is the most is the best, and
go ahead, bro.
Whoever can fight the most people is the best, or whoever has the most of whatever is the best, and so you're drawn to that. But it was really the older kids that were looking for the younger kids. There was this gentleman, and I won't share his name, but he had just moved from Mexico to Florida, deeply involved in gang activity, and he would wait outside of the middle school for those that would look up to him.
A predator.
You know, well, and it wasn't even from a sexual side. It was like, hey, I want you to do my dirty work.
Still preying on kids.
Right,
Absolutely.
100%.
He wanted something from them.
Exactly. And he would walk us home. He would, people would act out. He would fight them. And again, you think it's so cool to where he actually ended up, he was arrested for assault with a deadly weapon because he was heavily trained in MMA and a lot of other jiu-jitsu stuff. And his hands were weapons. And so they ended up taking him for assault with a deadly weapon. But I had one person in my life through middle school. His name was also Tom. He was the crossing guard. And I'd see him every day. He's like, Zach, you've got a lot going for you, man. Stop doing what you're doing. But again, it was what's better. Right. And so what I want to make sure that I specify is living for God can be a lot of fun if we allow it to be. Because it's not guardrails and rules. It's just right from wrong. But if you don't know right from wrong, how do you know what that is?
Submission and not.
Exactly. And really, people think Christianity is weird and all this other stuff. Dude, we're normal. Like when I tell people go to a Pentecostal church, like, oh, the holy rollers. I'm like, we're more broken, busted, and disgusted than most of the other people. We're not afraid to admit, at least we shouldn't be afraid to admit it.
There's the key right there is we shouldn't be afraid to admit it. But again, like I said a couple of minutes ago, is when you can get around some real, authentic people, that's when lives are changed.
The Bible says we have free will. We can do the free will when we want, just do right from wrong, and have fun doing it, man. But again, it's like who's actually going out and drawing on those people instead of making it a you must. And so, I mean, I'll never. And really, where things changed for me when I was 12 or 13, I went and had surgery, and this was during Florida's outrageous pill mill operation. And I went and had surgery on my nose and my tonsils. And I hadn't really messed with any narcotics to that point. Like I maybe marijuana and stuff, but other than that, like I didn't have a desire for it.
Right.
And so I had the surgery, and they had given me a 30-day supply of medication. And my mom, coming from the nursing world, she told the doctor, she's like, aren't you nervous about this? Like, that's opiates are very addictive. He said, no, there's nothing wrong with it. It's fine. Just let it be. And so I had taken it for the surgery. I had taken it for a couple weeks. But guess what? Your body's relying on it. And now you're like, oh, you're not taking it anymore for the pain. You're taking it for the pleasure. And then when we went back to the doctor, he's like, oh, yeah, another 30 days is not a big deal. Just let it be. And so now in the midst of all this, the people that I'm surrounding myself with, there's a gentleman that Kayla and I both know. His name is Homie. He was very, very much we could probably say an idol to me now. I mean, as bad as it is, but I had heard them talking about, like, what are opiates, what are drugs, what are this? And I'm like, oh, wait, I got these things. And he's like, oh, dude, I got something different, And now it's like you're in this whole world of just you're caught up in then it's like, hey, you really can't reverse that for anybody that's been down that path. And I'm a huge proponent of, while yes, when it comes to addiction, you have a choice, but you lose choice a lot of times because you're so out of whack, and that was at 12 or 13 up until, I mean, that was for years that I was lost in that. But again, it's like, where were the influences?
Was that a turning point for you?
It was huge, man.
What were the biggest things that you recognized about how you were living that made you realize, like, okay, something has to change?
So I wouldn't even say at that point, I realized something had to change.
Okay.
I was just like, I don't know what it is, but I need you. And it was a deep sense of just need. And I was dating another girl at the time, and I was confused. I'm like, what is happening? And so, because again, through those years, it was all about who do you know, who are you dating, what are you doing, so on and so forth. It wasn't, that's what it boiled down to. And so I think what I realized in that moment truly was I knew if I don't act this time, I'm going to lose the opportunity.
Yeah.
And her and I had there, and I, as far away as I was from God, I knew God was he was in the midst. I didn't know how, but he was in the midst. And so for her and I to know when we met, like, hey, we're going to get married one day, I knew there was a reason for that.
Yeah.
Maybe some of it was being afraid, I don't know. But what I recognized in that moment was, like, of all these other girls that I've dealt with and talked to and all this stuff, which to this day, man, just absolutely disgusts me. Like, it really, truly disgusts me. But this was different.
Yeah.
And she still was like, I love you.
Yeah.
Like,
did she go to church? Was she raised up in church?
She was raised up until I believe 12 or 13. She went to a Pentecostal church.
Okay.
Left the Pentecostal church because old school Pentecostal, she's like, oh, I can't do this, you know. Sure. But her grandmother was faithful. Okay. We often laugh. We're like, if there's one person we know for sure is going to heaven, it's her grandma.
That's funny.
It's and so, but it was different. And I think what it was I realized she actually had a love for me. I didn't have a love for myself. And so I could feel that love.
Yeah.
And I'm like, man, I'm longing for that.
Yeah.
And then things progressed rapidly from there.
Yeah. Let me pause too, because we said that jokingly, like, what do single people do, and I said that jokingly, not good things, but at the same time, the Bible says it is not good for man to be alone. Mm-hmm. So your story, clearly God bringing somebody into your life very early on. Maybe you needed it, at that point, but the Bible says it is not good for man to be alone. We were made for companionship. Yeah. We were made to have relationship with people, and it doesn't have to be as something as intimate as marriage, but it can be you being around good, solid friends. So single people can do some good things too.
Yeah, and I saw a picture on Facebook the other day. There's this a friend of ours from she's actually from middle school into high school. Her name is Abby, and I saw a picture pop up on Facebook from 2000. Yeah. I don't even know. It was like 9th grade.
Yeah.
And I was like, man, could you imagine where we are today versus then? Yeah. And we used to go to church together. That was later on. We would go to church, this place, I can't remember the name of it. It's no longer there, but we'd go to church, but again, it was like a party. It was like a rock concert or a rap concert and all these other things. And I bring that up because that's really the only that's really the only female in my life growing up that I had never crossed lines with. Yeah. And I couldn't understand why, and it clicked to me the other day. It was like, it's because I needed to know what that looks like. But again, going back to what you were saying around the relationships, people have a misconstrued viewpoint on what is a relationship. I often tell guys, I'm like, hey, you need a small group of guys you could be intimate with. They're like, what? I'm like, intimacy is not like intimacy, what you're thinking intimacy.
Yeah, it's vulnerability.
Right. And so I want God to be intimate with me. Yeah. I want him to love me and accept me, and I know he does. Yeah. But it's this misconstrued thought on what is a relationship. And the truth is, in my opinion, it's just an outlet where you can go and somebody you're close with. You know?
Yeah. And today's day and age has kind of altered our view, of that, because we have social media, and we think that because we're in tune with somebody's life that they choose to post on social media, that we actually know them. And because we're afraid to open up to people, if we just get a little bit it satisfies us for the moment, and then we have the free ability to jump on social media and dive into it, where we're getting these small little hits of dopamine, and thinking that we're connected. But then when all the lights get shut off, when we put our head on the pillow at night, we can often be left alone. With our own thoughts. And Pastor has said it best. It's not your own thoughts isolated in your own area with just you. It is not a good place to have, especially men. Men need somebody who they're accountable to. Men need people in their life that they can bounce ideas off of. Men need people who they can call and just be like, bro, I need a vent right now, or I need some advice right now, or something. I'm sure women need that too, but we need companionship. The whole design of God in the garden, like I said earlier from the beginning, it's all relationship. There was a relationship between Adam and God, and then there was a relationship between Adam and Eve, and God at the center of it. So it's very needed, and when we lack it, we jump out of our design.
100%. And really, I mean, when it, you mentioned earlier about our past and carrying it. It wasn't until Pastor preached a message about, you come to the altar to pray and you ask God to forgive you and put all this behind you. But when you walk away, you carry the same crap that you brought up to the altar, because your past is literally dragging you. And I'm like, and it clicked for me in the moment. I'm like, there's so many times that I've prayed and asked God to just release, get off of me, get away from me, all of this junk. Why at that point, I'm like, why have I said the same prayer 5 times? If I give it to him once, he'll take it. I don't need to keep giving it over and over. And one of the primary reasons for that is always because, and through our years of marriage, Kayla and I just celebrated our 13th wedding anniversary, and I look back, I'm like, dude, it feels like it was that fast. But one thing that I was afraid of for many, many years, at least up until I really began to learn who God is and get close with him, is I always felt like I was in competition. And so I always felt like I would lose her. And I did things to try to prevent it that actually could cause exactly what I don't. One of the things that I've always said growing up is, I don't want to become who my dad was when I was a kid, but I spent so much time saying I don't want to do that, that's exactly who I was becoming. I'm sure people have heard it too, but I'm sure you've heard it as well. There's a new study out that says that how effective reading the Bible is and how often you need to do it. Because if you read the Bible only 1, 2, or 3 days out of the week, you're not going to see changes in your life or in yourself. But if you get to reading the Bible 4, 5, and 6 days a week, you are spending time with God, getting that word in you, that's when you're going to see yourself start to change. That's when you see that light starting to shine through you. So I know before that light started shining through you, there was still a little bit of process that you had to go through. And one thing I want to say last on that is, there was a saying I heard a preacher say one time, where if you can't pray it away, if you can't prophesy it away, if you can't rebuke it away, and it's still in your life, then God still has something for you to learn in the midst of that process. And we see that throughout the Bible. We see it with Job. We see it with Jesus when he prayed, God, if this cup pass from me, God, I don't want this right now. If you can take this away from me, I would be so happy right now, but not my will. Your will be done. Speaking to, okay, I recognize that I can't just shoo this away. This is something that I have to go through. So talk about that, brother, if you feel, if you care to share about what you still had to go through to kind of become the man that you are today. So the turning point for me was, and I've had some amazing guys in my life through, especially when we were at Fort Hood, I had some just amazing guys. But again, the lifestyle that they live was like, do I live that? Do I not? And so there was a turning point for me. I had woke up one morning. We had just had a party in our house. We're living in Texas. I had woke up one morning It's like 10 o'clock in the morning, dude. I was being a bum on the weekend, sleeping
Yeah.
until 10, 11, 12. And Kayla was gone. I'm like, I didn't know where she was.
Yeah.
And so I'm calling her. I'm frantically freaking out because I can feel the energy in the home is different. Yeah. Something's wrong. And she told me, she's like, she basically said, like, I'm going back to Florida. And I was like, oh, no, you're not. No, you aren't. We promised to do this together. You're not going anywhere. And I was like, I'm going to change. You know, the same stuff.
So she had reached a turning point.
She did.
Yeah.
And so I realized at that time, like, I needed to do something, but I was afraid. What do I do? Where do I go? Who do I go to?
Yeah.
All of the people around me are doing the same thing, you know? And so that was a turning point for me. And then I began to realize, like, hey, sometimes we just need to face certain things, you know, and just kind of go head on. If I would have known God then, I would have been jumping for joy for what I was going through, man.
Wow.
Because now if I hit trials, I'm like, oh, thank you, Jesus, because I got something, you know,
Consider
there's
it pure joy.
Right? There's
the testing of your faith.
Yeah, there's something happening here, you know?
Yeah.
And so even then, as I was away from the drugs, away from the alcohol, really trying to change my life, there was still inside of me, I felt that there was still a lot of shortcomings, like and I couldn't figure out where I was going wrong. I'm just like, I'm doing everything I know how to do, but I'm not doing enough. Yeah. And Kayla would say, no, you're doing fine. You're doing fine. I'm like, I know I'm not doing fine. There's no way I am. Yeah. And I didn't know, like, we were in pastor's small group about the healthy marriages, and I asked the question, I was like, if you've never really had that perfect godly marriage example, how do you know you're doing it right? Yeah. And it opened up conversations for, like, just keep trying and doing this and doing that. And the question wasn't more of a, hey, like, I'm misfiring. It's more of like, hey, we can look at the Bible, but I was joking the other day, I'm like, I'm gonna write a book on how to be the perfect dad. And I was just purely joking. And God's like, the Bible. Yeah. Like, oh, dude, perfect. It's already there. Yeah. I'm like, holy crap.
#1 best-selling author.
Yeah. I'm like, how to have a perfect marriage. Yeah. God, you know, in the Bible. And I'm like, funny. It makes total sense. But I say all that to say, like, the process that we had to go through as individuals was, I think there was a lot of years where our marriage the growth was stunted. Just because I was stuck in my ways. Yeah. And Kayla was trying, she'll tell you to this day, she'll say, I had to learn how to love a whole new man. Wow. And the challenge for that, man, is like, it's a radical change. Yeah. And it's not that I changed, because my heart has always been the same, but my energy was going elsewhere. Where am I putting my heart? And so the process of really trying to understand, like, how do I love and cherish what God has given me, and also try to do everything I can to not do wrong. And I thought for a while, before we came into the Pentecostal world, like, we were going to a mega church. I was teaching at Sunday school, all this stuff. But then I was with the guys right afterward, right? Like, and so was there change? I'm like, well, hey, God, I'm doing the thing, and I'm doing the thing, and I'm doing the thing. Yeah. And things are great. And then but again, there was more there, and I couldn't figure out what, but I'm like, oh, hey, we're doing good. We're in church. We had never been in church as a family before, you know, and Kayla was vehement, like, well, I'll never go back to a Pentecostal church. It's not happening. Yeah. And so, however, when God brought us to Florida, we ended up going to her grandmother's church for a little while. And I began to learn, like, ooh, this is what it feels like, and this, but I didn't really want that at the time. You know, I was more focused on what is it that I want. Yeah. Even though if you ask us through our whole marriage, we've moved a lot, and every time we've moved is because God told us to move. Even though we weren't in church, I can tell you God is like, go. Yeah. And that's why we would go with such confidence. When we moved, not to get off track, dude, when we moved from North Carolina to Georgia, I didn't even know, I was not expecting to go down there. Yeah. And so I had stopped working at that job that I was at, and I said, there's 2 jobs I want. down in Georgia. One was a management position for a trucking company.
Yeah.
And at that point I was 20 something. I should not have been, like, I was young, right?
Yeah,
so
yeah.
I'm not, to my
Very
eyes,
ambitious.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And the other one was a truck driving job, because I had my license. I had my CDL, and still do. But we got there and we met this landlord. It was in the middle of, a gravel road, 9.5 acres, nothing but family that lived on the road. And we check it out, and the lady's name is Dawn. And we get there and like, oh, we love this house. And it's a big modular home, a bunch of land, so I can go out there and just enjoy myself or do whatever, raise the boys the way I want to, out in the country. And we're like, all right, we're going.
Yeah.
And so I say all that to say, like, when we got there, we moved in. We had no furniture. When we moved in, the next day I got a rejection from the one job.
Oh, wow.
And Kayla's like, what are you going to do? I said, oh, I don't know. I ain't figured that out yet, but I'm loving life. We're living in a house with no furniture because at the time, we lost our house we were in.
Oh, wow.
So we literally, everything we owned, pretty much gone.
Wow.
Due to the landlord not taking care of the home. And so we were starting fresh.
Wow.
And I mediated with the landlord, and thank God that he gave us a little bit of money, but it just covered us to move in.
Yeah.
And so I was like, it'll be okay. And so I sat around, I waited like a week and a half. It's still nothing from the jobs. And I'm like, oh, I'm getting nervous.
Yeah.
And then I said, I told Kayla, I said, if it's not meant to be, I won't get the job.
Yeah.
Whatever. And we'll figure it out. I was like, God will be in here somewhere. He'll figure it out. The next morning I woke up at 6 a.m. Hey, Mr. Jenkins, just want to let you know we've accepted your application for the supervisor position at the trucking terminal.
That's awesome.
And I'm like, oh, dude, this is amazing.
Yeah.
And so, again, we weren't in church. We had nothing to do it. Yeah. But I really believe sometimes people that are out of the church have a better prayer life than the people in the church.
Really?
I really do, because dude, the amount of times I prayed when I was out of church was crazy. When I started being faithful in church, I have to remind myself to pray.
If we accept the fact that it's not the devil and it's us, then we got to deal with ourselves. And sometimes that's a bigger hurdle than trying to rebuke and bind the enemy, is looking at yourself in the mirror and just dealing with yourself.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. And
I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off.
No, you're good, because that's good, man. That's good.
Yeah.
Because, there's a lot of times like, and dude, we could do a whole 3-hour segment on this, but like, there's times where it's easier to just say, oh, the devil. I would love Pastor's opinion on that, but I'm sure he'd say the same thing you said. Yeah. Sometimes it's hard to just accept it, that sometimes we as humans, sometimes we suck.
Yeah.
No,
that's real talk.
And
no, the devil did not give you a speeding ticket. You just hit the gas too much. You're going in 45 and you were going 65.
Exactly. Oh. Yeah. And so I was in prayer, and at that trip, it was the second or third before the last, when I told them, I'm like, oh, we're going out here and we're going to go serve with this gentleman. They're like, eyes got real big. And I'm like, whoa, what did I do?
Yeah.
What did I, they're like, no. And I'm like, oh yeah. God said go.
Yeah.
And so I was down on my knees, and I'm like, if you want me to go back to Phoenix and serve, and I'd already bought the tickets at the time, I said, if you want me to go back to Phoenix and serve, you got to show me what's going to happen. And
you're being real with God.
Yeah.
And that's a good thing. That's a healthy thing. And I think people don't do that often enough, is being real with God. And that goes into part of dealing with yourself, is you need to get in the face of God and deal with yourself and be real with him.
Yeah. And there's times I haven't even been nice, like I know that it's wrong, but I'm like, you've got to show me. And so I had this, I can still see it to this day. I had this vision. This young girl had gotten out of her wheelchair dancing in the streets.
Yeah.
And I texted the guys I was coming with. I said, hey, there's this girl. Don't know who she is, but I saw that we had the worship music going, and then she had jumped out of her wheelchair, started dancing in the streets. When we got here that weekend, guess what?
You saw that?
Yeah. And I said, oh, that was God.
Oh, wow.
And so I told Kayla, I said, something's telling me we got to go. Yeah. And I had a 5-year plan to leave Florida anyways. My plan was go there, build a business with her, sell it in 5 years, and bounce.
Okay.
And but we weren't even that far. We were like 3 years into our 5-year plan.
Yeah.
And so Kayla's like, I don't think so. I don't think that's the case. And I said, let's just go back out to Phoenix. So I went back to Florida. We booked another trip, went back out to Phoenix. But this time I told God, I said, this move here, or this trip here, is with one purpose, one reason, and it's I want to hear your voice and I want to know this is the right thing.
Yeah.
Because Kayla felt led. However, when that was shared amongst my peers that I looked up to and that I said, hey, God put you in your life to help guide me, they said, your wife cannot be involved in the decision. If she is, that's the work of the devil. And so I'm like, you're like, you guys are killing me, man. Like, what do you mean? And like, well, a woman shall be silent. Okay.
The Bible doesn't say that. It says it in context.
Right.
And the wife is supposed to be your helpmate, so let's just debunk that right now.
Right, right. And so, and I had to learn that coming under Pastor Bibb. I had to learn that about truly being like a helpmate. Like, so I was shocked. But anyways, we got our tickets. The kids stayed home at the time because we had one purpose. God, we need to hear your voice, see your voice. You need to do something on this trip.
Yeah.
And so we come out. We had been here 4 or 5 days. That night, we had served the homeless. We had picked people up, went to the river, baptized them. They were filled with the Holy Ghost. That's awesome. I mean, there was just a party going on. Yeah. And there had been a shooting the night before. And so we were like, oh, we don't know if we're going to go back. Yeah. Because of that, there was a shooting that night downtown. And so on our way back, we walked to the river. We had a gentleman in a wheelchair, so we were trying not to. Yeah. But we went all the way back. On our way back, Kayla broke down in tears, man. And we had been in a Pentecostal church at this point, filled with the Holy Ghost, like really living for God. Our kids are living for God. We are doing everything in our power to grow closer to Him. Yeah. And our way back, she broke down in tears. I looked back and I didn't think anything of it. I'm like, whatever. And it was 11:30 at night. Our flight left at 5 a.m. the next day. I mean, we were out crazy late, serving out in the streets. And the reason we were gone so long, we were baptizing people and trying to find out where do we do it. And so I asked her on the way back, I'm like, what's wrong? Yeah. I could feel something was not wrong, but something had shifted in her. Yeah. And so I know that the Bible, and I believe it's also Paul that talks about be mindful of superstitions. Yeah. And so long story short, on the walk back, her prayer for coming, I just told God, I said, however you're going to tell me, you just need to tell me. Yeah. I didn't really give him a reason on how to tell me or not. I was just like, you're just going to tell me.
But you were seeking Him. You were 100%. Genuinely seeking God.
100%.
And when you seek Him, He shows up.
Yes. But at that time, I was so conflicted. I didn't know how to ask first, because this is why I was so conflicted. When I prayed and I said, God, I need you to share signs, the statement was made, if you prayed out loud, the devil heard your prayer. Yeah. And the devil will answer that prayer. And so now I'm like, what do you mean? So I need to pray in silent. But because of that, I was like, hey, God, I'm not going to ask you to give it a certain way because I don't want the devil to know what I'm thinking. Yeah. Just however you want to. So we're walking back. Kayla starts crying. We get back to the room. I was like, what happened? And she looked at me. She said, we're moving to Phoenix. Wow. I was like, whoa. Like, let's ease off of it. And she said, I told God before we left, we'd been here 4 days at the point, told God before we left, I needed you to show me 3 hearts. They needed to be obvious. They needed to just jump out. I need to see those 3 hearts to know that your love is here and that this is where we're supposed to be. Yeah. On the way, on the walk back to baptize that gentleman, we had never supposed to go there. There was a heart-shaped locket there. A little further back, there was a heart-shaped lock. And then on the way back from the baptism, again, we ended up walking 1.5 miles. We were never supposed to walk that far. We had to walk over this bridge around this fence. It was a whole kit and caboodle that God had us going through. Yeah. But on the way back was where the 3rd heart was. It was painted on the side of the bridge. We'd have never seen it if we didn't walk down there. Wow. And so I was like, okay, I got you. But I was still confused. I'm like, okay, she spoke it out, but I'm like confused. So then we go back to Florida the next morning. Yeah. And I tell God, I said, I told God, I said, I'm going to challenge you. I said, you want this to happen.
Slightly dangerous.
Very dangerous. Very dangerous. I said, you want this to happen? Yeah. You plan the logistics. Wow. You plan the sale of the company. You find the home. I'm not, I literally, in my prayer, said, God, I'm not doing nothing. Wow. And I don't encourage anybody to do that. Yeah. That's bad. Yeah. Really bad.
You tipped on some lines there.
Right. Right. And so that next day, I told Kayla, I said, fine, just peruse for houses, whatever, like I'm not doing it. Yeah. That next day, a gentleman had approached Kayla and said, hey, do you want to sell your company? and she had a certain number in mind, and he said, I'll give you X number. We never shared the number with him.
Sure.
And so he knew the number. He's like, this is what I'm willing to give you, and I'm willing to give it to you without any issues.
Yeah.
It's cool. Let's start the paperwork.
Yeah.
And we had just started another company before that, and I told God, I was like, this is going to be a nasty break. I knew it was. We're going to have to find a way out of this. And God ended that business the way, just as it was intended to. We still dealt with some of the repercussions, but it was okay.
Yeah.
We learned a lot through the process. And so the next day when we get back to Florida, that happens, the business. Then we've found a house, and I call the landlord. Him and I talk for an hour and a half, and he's like, oh, I'm taking the house off the market. I'm like, what? He said, oh, it's yours. God's, it's yours.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh, all right. Yeah. And then so God, I said, fine, you're going to have to find out logistics. Like, how am I even getting there?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And God said, get rid of everything.
Wow.
And I'm like, oh, okay. So whatever didn't fit in our fifth wheel, we left. But we left with tension so high, because we were told, like, you're going to be back here in 2 weeks because this isn't God ordained.
From the church that you left.
Yeah. And so, like, for me, we had zero plan. When I say we had zero plan to come here, and zero plan of how are we going to survive, zero plan on how are our bills going to go up more than 2.5 times, and I have zero source of income. Well, we did. There was a rental property, but anyways, not enough to sustain us.
Yeah.
Right? It was
like truly relying on God to show up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, and we were comfortable with it. You know,
there was a peace about it.
Oh my good! I've never felt peace like that in my life, man.
Wow.
And so, like, we were worried about moving from our house. Oh, that was the other thing. The house we were living in. So again, this is why I say don't challenge God. It's dangerous, like you said.
Yeah.
Like the house we lived in, right after we got back, the landlord came back and said, I'm selling the house. I'm like, oh, I'm buying it. She's like, oh, no, you're not. I'm like, what do you mean, no, I'm not?
Yeah.
No, you're not. And I'm like, we've lived here for a couple of years. We love the house. Like, what? She wouldn't. Literally, there was nothing we could do. And she basically was like, you guys need to go. You have 30 days to get out.
Wow.
Like, we did nothing. So I'm like, okay, cool. So yeah, while God made it very clear and abundantly clear, I think I really overstepped some boundaries. And he's like, okay, watch, we're going to make this happen, but it's not going to be as smooth as you want it to be.
Yeah.
And then we really weren't sure. And I think it's important to share this. We were still not sure when we got here. For about 6 months. We didn't know. Right? We were very uncertain, and we had found Pop at that time. We had visited another church, but we were downtown Scottsdale, and I'll never forget this lady, man. I wish I could find her. She walks up to us at 11 o'clock on a Sunday night. We had ice cream, and we were singing worship music out in downtown Scottsdale, just laughing and joking with the kids. She walks up. She said, I love that shirt on you.
Yeah.
She said, I want to sing with you. And I'm like, oh, okay, that's weird. You know, like, I didn't know her.
I think there's two lenses that people can work through, and we can kind of wrap it up with this thought too, is you can look at your life through the lens of hurt. You can look at your life through the lens of your trauma, your addiction, everything that you've gone through, and you've gone through a lot, you know, and I think we've just scratched the surface, so we may have to have you back for a part two. But you can look through your life through that lens, or you can look at your life through the lens of Christ. And when you look at your life through the other lens, you continue to replay hurt, you have unforgiveness, you have burdens, you have worry, you live the way that God does not intend us to live. And no matter what you're going through, whether you're good, not good, if you're looking through that lens, you will always be burdened by the dirt that's in that lens. But if you look at your life through the lens of Christ, the good, the bad, the ugly, the ups, the downs, everything in between, the calling on him, the not calling on him, the running away from him. But if you look back at your life through that lens of Christ, you see that he connected every single dot of your life to get you to the point that you're at now. And then that is what drives you to then turn, and the only reason why you glance at the rest of your life and how you have lived up to this point is to say, look what God has done for me. And if he can do it for me, he can do it for everybody. And then after you turn away from that, you then make a choice to move, pursue, and live forward rather than constantly looking back. That is how we break generational curses. Mm-hmm. That is how we change trajectories of our family, especially for men, husbands, and fathers. Yeah. That is how we live a purposeful, meaningful life, walking with Christ, is we turn away from that one lens and we look at our life through the lens of Christ and give him the glory the entire time. Yeah. Brother, it's been awesome having you on here. I want to give you a couple moments to speak to some people. We'll have you back on for a part 2 for sure, because I know that we've had talks and there's a lot that I want you to be able to share with a lot of people. But I was right now, speak to the people. I'll give you a couple minutes, and I want you to encourage some people that whatever lays on your heart, whatever God puts on your heart, encourage some people. Go ahead, bro.
What I would say is, and this actually ties in with the elective that God is blessing me with the opportunity to do next month. Yeah. We need to realize and understand the truth of the matter is, according to statistics, because I love statistics, 60 to 70% of the world is lost. Okay. Wow. Now, of that, what no truth? It's hard to say. We really don't know. Yeah. And so what I encourage people to think of is one of the most joyful things, and I pray to God and I thank God for our elders. One of the most joyful things for me is when I can come in this church and I can see those that are 70, 80, 90 years old jumping and joying. I'm like, I used to say, what are they jumping for, man? Yeah. Now I know. And so that is encouragement, but it doesn't matter how clean, how dirty, how ugly, any of the past. There's something in your life that will save someone else. You know, I was thinking about this on the way here. For those that have maybe grown up in church their whole life and they've never really lived in the world, I used to feel like, man, I can't connect with that person. And God corrected me on the way here. If you can go back and one of those people would have spoke up, would you have appreciated that? In the time, maybe no, but now I look back, if somebody could have spoke up and prevented some stuff, yeah, I'd be forever grateful for it. Yeah. But I'm also grateful. I look back and I can confidently say, I thank God for every trial, every tribulation, everything I've ever been through. I thank God for it. Yeah. Call me crazy, call me whatever. More importantly, I firmly believe the time that we are in right now, God is calling people, and you and I have spoke about this a little bit. God is calling people to go beyond the walls of the church. Yeah. Go beyond the walls of your family. Yeah. There's this huge talk around be the one that changes everything. We only have to change our family or one person. Yeah. Because if we can change one person, that changes one person, that changes one, you change generations. And so regardless, again, to drive it home, the truth of the matter is 70% of the world is lost. Yeah. God calls us to be the watchmen. Yeah. And so I never want to get to the end of life and hear the words, well done, thou good and faithful servant. But Zach, I put you here to reach the lost. I put you here to share your testimony. I put you here to do this. Yeah. We have no redos. And if we make mistakes along the way, dude, nobody's perfect. No. You know, and God's protection is on us, and even if it feels like it doesn't make a difference now, it'll make a difference. It will make a difference someday.
Absolutely. If you have been impacted by this, if you have gotten something from this, I'm sure there is somebody that you know in your life that can receive the same impact that you have received today. Like the video, share it, get it out, get the audio out, get it to people, because people need to know that there are true, authentic people in the house of God that want to see lives changed, souls saved, and generations changed forever.